Marriage is biblical. It's a biblical thing. But what did it actually look like in the Bible? Because if you picture a church, a pastor, matching tuxedos, a wedding march, you're reading modern tradition back into an ancient world. And once you realize that, a lot of things in the Bible suddenly make more sense. The origin of marriage in the Bible starts incredibly early, like almost immediately. Not in Exodus, not in the law, not with Israel. Way, way, way back in Genesis. Before nations, before kings, before temples, before sin fully destroys the world. In Genesis 2, God creates Adam, and Adam is alone. That matters because everything else in creation had been declared good. But now, for the first time, something is not good. It is not good that man should be alone. Then God creates Eve, not from dust like Adam, but from Adam himself. And Adam responds almost like poetry. Bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. And then comes one of the most important lines in the entire Bible. Genesis 2:24. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. That is the foundation of biblical marriage. Notice something important, though? Where's the ceremony? There isn't one. In today's world, people think that the ceremony is the thing. But original marriage didn't even have one. At least not here in the original form. No priests appeared. No formal vows are recorded. No wedding officiant. No exchange of rings. What you actually see is union, commitment, leaving the old family structure and becoming one flesh. That phrase, one flesh, is massive in the Bible. It means more than sex, more than romance. It's two lives becoming joined together. A new family unit forming, a covenant relationship. And this is why marriage matters so much biblically. Because from the very beginning, it wasn't presented as merely legal or merely emotional, but relational, covenantal, and deeply spiritual. Now, here's where people start getting confused. Because when you keep reading Genesis, marriage customs start looking very different from modern weddings. Abraham sends a servant to find Isaac a wife. Jacob works 7 years for Rachel. Then accidentally marries Leah first. Kings have multiple wives. Concubines appear. Arranged marriages happen. And suddenly people ask, wait, what is marriage biblically? Because the Bible often records things without approving them. That's important. Just because something happened in Scripture doesn't automatically mean God was endorsing it. The clearest foundation keeps pointing back to Genesis. One man, one woman, leaving, joining together, one flesh. Now, let's talk about ceremonies, because this is where things get really interesting. The early biblical world doesn't treat marriage primarily as a wedding event. It treats it as a covenant relationship. In ancient Hebrew culture, marriage usually involves several things: agreement between families, a bride price or dowry, a covenant commitment, a feast or celebration, and the couple beginning life together. But the exact ceremony details, the Bible barely focuses on them. That surprises people because modern culture focuses almost entirely on the wedding day. The Bible focuses more on the covenant itself. In fact, some marriages in Scripture seem to become recognized simply through the covenant, commitment, and consummation. Meaning, the relationship itself establishes the union. For example, when Isaac takes Rebekah into his mother Sarah's tent, Scripture simply says she became his wife. Just that simple. That's it. No detailed ceremony described. Now, that doesn't mean ceremonies are bad. Not at all. Ceremonies absolutely existed. Wedding feasts existed. Jesus himself attended a wedding in Cana. But the Bible emphasis is usually not on elaborate ritual. It's on covenant, faithfulness, union, and this explains something huge people miss. Marriage in the Bible was never originally presented as two people chasing personal happiness. It was presented as forming of a covenant bond. That creates family, stability, inheritance, children, legacy, and partnership. That's why breaking covenant was treated so seriously. Because marriage wasn't viewed casually. It was binding. Now, does that mean every marriage in the Bible was healthy? Absolutely not. Some are actual disasters. Some involve manipulation, jealousy, polygamy, power struggles, sexual sin. Again, the Bible records humanity honestly, sometimes brutally honestly. Through all of it, Genesis remains the anchor point the rest of Scripture keeps returning to. Even Jesus goes back to Genesis when discussing marriage. In the Gospels, when questioned about divorce, Jesus quotes Genesis directly from the beginning, meaning he points back to the original design. And this is why understanding biblical marriage matters. Because if you only understand modern weddings, you may completely miss what Scripture is actually talking about. The Bible cares far less about the event and far more about the covenant. So the next time you read about marriage in Scripture, you're not just picturing a ceremony anymore. You're seeing something older, deeper, foundational, a covenant union that begins all the way back in Genesis. So when marriage shows up through the Bible, you're not guessing what's happening anymore. Now you understand where it started, why it matters, and why Scripture treats it as something far bigger than just a wedding day. And now you understand why it matters now and why Scripture still treats it as something far bigger than just a wedding day. We should know what marriage actually is. May the truth set us all free.